And as we look at Marco Zen of the Lamprey team set the pace in the 86th running of Milan-San Remo. Hello and welcome, and I'm Phil Liggett. 1995, the big season is underway with the opening World Cup counter and indeed the opening classic that for the last 8 weeks just about everybody has talked about. And this has been a remarkable race in as much that one rider has led it for a long way today. Cristian Salvato, first year professional, and he was the world champion in the team time trial for Italy last year, and he has averaged over 45 kilometres an hour. But he's back in the main field now as we look at the competing teams, all 25 of them in order in this year's race. The big sprinter Adriano Baffi gets the hot spot in the Mappe team. Fabio Baldato, the fast improving Italian classics rider, he leads the Malefico MG team. Miguel Indurain getting an early outing, although I doubt very much we'll see too much of him. He doesn't normally shine this early. And the Once team, everybody saying this is the team to beat, led by Laurent Jalabert of France, number 44 and on tremendous form. Maurizio Fondries, the great Italian rider who is desperate to win this race again as he did in 1993. Claudio Chiappucci still to win this race since he last won it in 1991. And the big sprinter, who doesn't normally get a shot at goal here, Jamaluddin Abdu-Japarov will lead Novell. The Telecom team, made up mostly of German riders, Kai Huntertmark there now, having left Team Motorola. Mario Cipollini also coming back this season with a vengeance. And the Team Polti, with Mauro Gianetti, Giovanni Lombardi as their key men perhaps. And Motorola, and they're being led here by Andrea Perron, the new Italian on their squad. Lance Armstrong, of course, is here too. The Lotto team with Marc Sergeant and André Schmil. The TVM team have chosen Martin Den Bakker as their number one rider. And Festina, without the world champion now because he's moved to a new team, Le Groupement. Gilbert Duclos-Lausanne still riding for Gann and in his 41st year. And the ZG Mobility team with Fabio Fontanelli as possibly their main bet. In all, there are 193 riders on the start line today, or there were at Milan, and they're made up of these 25 teams. First sprinkling of those Italian teams we may not see in the rest of the World Cup races, but they're certainly here. AKI, of course, will be around the World Cup circuit, led by Konishev of Russia. The Navigare Blue Storm team, and the Amor e Vita. Now, as we pick up the race here, the field has generally regrouped, and as you can see, they are still travelling very quick over the ground. And the Once team, led here by Eric Breukink, have taken control at the head of the field. The attack by Cristian Salvato, which came after 1 kilometre today, lasted for 224 kilometres. He built a maximum lead of 11 minutes, that coming around the 107 kilometre point. But as with these long attacks that go early, everybody knows that the riders will be picked up before the finish down in San Remo. It's sort of one of those races where it simply always happens. There's Miguel Indurain, a man that we'll probably see a lot more of as we head out towards the Tour de France. The rumour is, though, that he will not be riding in the Tour of Italy, beaten to the places last year by Evgeny Berzan, and deciding that he's not going to start in the Tour of Italy this year, which indicates he must be taking very seriously a shot at 5 straight Tours de France, and that will be the first time ever achieved. So the view from our helicopter as the big pack regroups. The Once team have started with a plan today. Neil Stevens, the Australian, I was training in fact with Neil Stevens and his Once team in Australia for 4 weeks in January, and they built their team around the two men, Alex Zula and Laurent Jalabert, and they said today that with such good form as Jalabert, they expected to spend at least 4 of their riders by holding the race together until they were over the top of the suppressor, and what was left of the team would have to try and get Jalabert into a position on the Poggio to try and win this race. Now that's their plan, and we'll see if it does work out. By tradition, this race is always a quick one as it heads south from Milan. There's Alex Zula, and the Once rider here, number 42, is Breukink. Refound himself a little bit now. The rider's tapping out the rhythm for Once, keeping a close eye. Guido Bontempi. Eric van der Aarden moving up on the outside. Van der Aarden seems to have refound himself since he joined the Italian teams once more. We've still got the suppressor to come. Torcino Pass, where the young Italian Salvato was leading at that point by 5 minutes and 50 seconds. That's been wiped out now. And the Once team trying to take command. Breukink, obviously the man they're going to spend early on to set the pace here. Beautiful rolling roads down the coast, and the riders keeping a very high pace indeed. And there's Fausto Dotti. But he's not the rider we're expecting to be in at the kill a little bit later on today. But Dotti is setting the pace. Italians always evident in their own events. And the Italians, although they've won it the most times, don't always get everything their own way. They've had some good results with Bugno, Kipucci, Fondriest, and last year's winner Furlando in the recent past. Before that, Laurent Fignon had 2 straight wins, and Sean Kelly of Ireland, you may remember that great win, and I hope you bought the tape. 1992, when on that wonderful descent, Moreno Argentin was joined by Sean Kelly. We will experience just a little bit of picture breakup as the race unfolds with the atmospherics, but I don't think it'll spoil the enjoyment of this opening classic of the year. First World Cup event. Beautiful early spring day, and this is what everybody envisages about La Primavera, the spring classic, Milan-San Remo. Everybody happy to be racing again. Spring is in the air, having come from a rather topsy-turvy Paris-Nice in Tirreno Adriatico, where they've been building up their Milan-San Remo form. We've got Alex Zula now coming to the front as well. Johan Brunel leading the pace there. He set the pace in the Tour de France when he won the stage, which has now set the average speed in the Tour de France that little notch higher. Just look at that for a beautiful picture. The complete field in Milan-San Remo. And the pace being inspired almost totally by the Once team, and that is because Laurent Jalabert has come out fighting this year, and so too is Alex Zula, of course. Jalabert won the second stage of the Tour of Mallorca. That was the first hint he gave, but not too many people would be worried about such a small stage race. But then he went on to the Tour of Valencia, where he finished second overall and picked up stage 2. And then in Paris-Nice, he won Paris-Nice. That sent the French crazy. And now he's come here as a favourite, as the winner of Paris-Nice always does. Breukink willing to work for the team, very much so, followed by Brunel, Alex Zula. Zula's now seeming to me that he's going to go on to be a really good cyclist now. He's had the little dip. Glory came early with his yellow jersey in the Tour de France, which came on his birthday in his first attempt at the Tour. He was put in for a little bit of experience and pulled out by the rest day in Dole. But then he took a little bit of a dip. But now he's quite clearly on his way back, Alex Zula. And I think this year we're going to see an awful lot of him. Won the Tour of Mallorca. And along with Laurent Jalabert, he finished third overall in Paris-Nice. And he also won, Zula, the Tour of Valencia as well. So he's on the A team, if you like, along with Jalabert. They seem to be riding all the same initial build-up events together. But what it has meant already is a lot of hard work by the Once team at this early stage of the season. And to echo the words of Neil Stevens, he says, we're in for another hard day today. Well, he's proving that now. And having said that, I haven't caught a glimpse of Neil yet. 7 wins in January in his home of Australia, including the Australian Championship for the second time. This is Brian Home on Telecom. I think it's Steve Bauer for Motorola, just popping through about 2 rows back. Jens Hepner in the championship of jersey of Germany there, black, red and yellow bands. And a first sprinkling of the Motorola team has now made it up here. The Motorola boys are fielding today Andreu, Armstrong, Bauer, Hincapie, Axel Merckx, who's joined the team, and Andrea Perron, who's also joined the team. The animal himself, Sean Yates, and Steve Swart, the New Zealand rider. And while the Once boys are trying to keep control of this race, there is in fact a great deal of action. Guido Bontempi is setting the pace now. Van der Arden with the big head of hair. Had a third in Milan-San Remo back in 1991. And he was second in Milan-San Remo in 1987. He was also third way back in 1984. Still hoping for that win, and they can come even this late in life too. Well, that was, I think it was Alberto Volpi leading here for the Gavis team. No, this is Volpi. And the Gavis team, of course, carrying last year's winner on the race. It's Bontempi setting the pace. Furlan or Berzan are the riders they believe can finish it off when we get down to San Remo. But just look at the speed of this peloton. I mean, Christian Salvato himself in the first hour covered 45.2 kilometres when he broke away. You'd have thought the finish was round the corner. A little glimpse there we had of Miguel Indurain. Stephen Swart alongside him. And our camera trying to keep up with Miguel, just to let us know he's riding. Miguel following, as always, his own pattern of training, hoping he'll bring his form right on for the Tour de France. And with the Tour of Spain this year moving out into September, it might well be that the Spanish will at last persuade Miguel Indurain to ride that once again. Still everywhere together. Yekimov leading for Novell. A rush here from the right, led by Van der Arden. Lance Armstrong, I think it is, on his wheel. And number 53 there on the inside from the Lamprey squad. And that's Lars Mikkelsen in the centre right. Had a great start to his professional career last year with 7 victories. And he only rode part of the season, so a lot expected of him this year, I would think. New Danish man, where cycling on television in Denmark now extremely popular. Volpi really attacking the slopes here. On the inside ring, but he must be on a 12 or 13 sprocket on the back end there. And this is really a big effort by the Gavis rider. Volpi wants something to happen here quite clearly. And there is no question of thinking about what's still to come, because he is giving it 100%. And he's got Angel Ido, a sprinter, on his back wheel. Well, on the Cipressa, we're actually climbing it as if it were flat right now. Volpi, Edo, and there's Jalabert now moves right to the fore to watch all of the moves, so he's quite clearly thinking of the victory today. The last Frenchman to win this was Laurent Fignon back in '89. He also won it in '88. And Marc Gomez, if you may remember back to 1982, Marc Gomez won when he was away on the Poggio with Alain Bondu, and Bondu fell off on a very sharp bend and had to be content with second place. And Jan Ross was the rider then who was third. Jan Ross now the manager of the Novell team. So Jalabert holding third place, and this is a fine piece of riding by Volpi, clearly for his team rather than himself. There's Jalabert. And this is the back end of the field here, and there's clearly one or two riders now finding the pace a little bit tough. And number 35 there was Prudencia Indurain, not quite the rider of Miguel, but his brother nonetheless, and gets on the teens, but he hasn't got the legs of Miguel, and he's losing contact there. And Steven Swart also falling back for Motorola. In fact, this has hurt them. There's a lot of riders here now decided enough was enough. Jackie Durand, the champion of France, struggling a little bit too. As Volpi continues, his face telling us it's hurting him as well, but he's keeping the pace, and Fondriest is moving up as well. Mauricio Fondriest, the winner in 93. And he's got himself onto the wheel of Volpi. Maybe not the rider Volpi would have liked there. He'd like to have seen perhaps Ferlin or Berzin. Zula. A slight easing of the pace by Volpi, and Zula decides it's worth keeping going because this is hurting the big peloton for the first time today. There's a lot of riders being shaken out at the back. And this looks like it could be Evgeny Berzin who's come up here to the wheel of Alex Zula. No, it is Vladislav Bobrik. And Bobrik has come up. So Zula and Bobrik. Bobrik, well known by the Italians now after his great win in the Tour of Lombardy last year. He really was strong, and once you've won once, then you're going to win a game because you have the confidence. And Bobrik has come right up now to Alex Zula. But it's only a little bit of a lead at the moment, and the chase back is swift. Well, with Zula out in front, the Once team will turn off that little bit. This is Marco Zen here. And Zen trying to nip across to form a little bit of a breakaway. And I think it might have been Lance Armstrong who's bridged the gap too. But the race come back together again on the long descent. The thin line is more or less all together as Alex Zula leads them down, followed by Bobrik. And the route now is down the coast. We'll be there until we reach the finishing line. Jens Hepner. And this is Lance Armstrong looking over his shoulder, so it was Armstrong who got across to the leaders. Another attack by Bobrik. Well, this is Volpi again. This is Volpi again. As soon as the races come together, he's gone off on his own. And once more, the Gavis rider heavily marked by Once. So we're into Imperia, which means that we have just around about 37 kilometers still to ride. Moto 2, that'll be the motorcycle which will follow the chase group. These beautiful little narrow streets of the town here, Imperia. Made even narrower under normal days by the parking they would allow, but cleared right out for Milan-San Remo as we cross the marketplace or the town square. This is Alex Zula. Here's where we are now. Just a little climb to come. The Capoberta. Cipressa. Vyacheslav Yekimov coming right up behind the camera bike. Volpi, he's put some work in this last half an hour or so. Now it looks like Gianni Bugno's team's been ordered to start putting in some heavy work as well. That looks like it's Marco Saligari down there. And once you've got a little easing in the pace, they're prepared to go once more. These are the softeners now, because once we get on to the climb of the Poggio, just about 5 kilometers to go over the top. And it's a question of just how fast you can climb up that little climb. So as the passenger train returns up to Milan, the first classic of the year goes in the opposite direction to San Remo. Saligari is continuing. Well, he doesn't look too keen to continue. He was hoping perhaps that somebody might have come and give him a hand, but nobody has. So Marco Saligari won 3 races last year, including a stage of the Tour of Italy. That's when he really made his name last year. And it's quite an interesting little view, this, from the back of the pack today. There's Miguel Indurain, as you can see, just using the wheels for very rapid training and not really taking part in any of the action. There's Gianni Bugno. Now it looks as though the MG boys have got themselves organised here, because this is Marco Lietti at the front. So all hands on deck for this man, Gianni Bugno. Saligari just in front of him. And Rolf Sorensen's also come up too. He's in 4th wheel. They have a tremendous team here. And they've given Fabio Baldato the number 1 on his jersey as leader. So we have Baldato, Bugno, Lietti, Rebellin, Pascal Richard, Chandri, Marco Saligari and Rolf Sorensen. An excellent team. There's Sean Yates coming into our picture on the right. And Jesper Skibby riding for TVM, number 144. Sort of rider capable of a surprise result here. It just depends how they can hang on the Poggio. The racing is so fast and furious on the build-up to the Poggio, and it looks as though Volpi, with his hand up, either has a problem, and I don't think Volpi will be at the back of the field the way he's been riding unless he didn't have a problem. I think he's got a flat tyre. I think he's gone. Well, this is Bugno, who has sensed trouble at the back, because I think he's gone off the front here. And so Bugno has put in a nice attack here. And Piangonda, Gianluca Pianagonda, is the rider who's come out. A new professional rider this. We haven't seen anything. The first time I've ever seen him ride a bike. Gianluca Pianagonda. And he's now going to sample pro racing at his best because he's joined one of the best on a break here. Gianni Bugno. Well, the rider shooting off for Telecom looks like Ralph Aldag. So Bugno with a couple of opportunists here. And if it goes this way, I think Bugno could handle him nicely on the Poggio too. There's Pianagonda. An interesting little group building. At the moment, Bugno has decided to not worry about anybody, just get on with the job. And just see how this break develops. There's 3 more chasing. Well, it's going to be a struggle this year, I think, to get the whole field to the base of the Poggio. If Bugno will keep attacking like this and others, he now wants Aldag to come on through. Pianagonda. As these riders continue to come up here, Ido has got back on in the green shorts. And number 95, that'll be Angelo Canazzieri. So no real big names joining Bugno on the attack here, and yet the main field is stringing out, and I wouldn't mind betting it's the Once boys trying to bring them all back. Six riders. Well, this is a bit of a dramatic pursuit here. The main field can't quite close the gap. And it's all being enacted at just on 50 kilometers an hour. There's Berzan, number 2. And there on the other side is Furlan, last year's winner. So the winner of Milan-San Remo and the winner of Liège-Bastogne-Liège last year, both sitting a long way down the pack. Not the place to be, with the short climb still to come. Well, Bugno has had absolutely no support up here. He's got one teammate in this group, but he's given up. And they're all swallowed up. So Bugno's attack has come to naught. But at these sort of speeds, you really are not going to get far off the front. Little bit of an echelon forming at the front. Slight crosswind, but it's really nothing to talk about. Well, this is Stefano Zanatta. A little graphic racing away there. And Zanatta. There seem to be so many Italians now always willing to have a go, especially in their own ground. The open mouth, I think, of Frankie Andreo for Motorola. And this rider now on the attack, trying desperately to split the field again, and a slight gap. Fabio Fontinelli. And Fontinelli just trying now to see if anybody will join him here. He's gone clear on his own. So ZG Mobili swinging the pendulum once again to yet another Italian team on the attack. Still with the gap out there. But Fontinelli trying very, very hard indeed now to get somebody to come and join him here. So he's on the climb of the Cipressa and he's taking it by himself here. Takes you up to a height of 240 metres. Oh, and look at the gap he's got. Well, this is the first significant gap we've seen. He's done well here to climb that far clear. Fontinelli. Not overdoing it at the moment, just keeping a nice little steady pace up the climb, hoping that somebody might spring across to him of note and then start working and get away together. He put up a good ride in this race last year, Fontinelli, because he finished 8th. And now it looks like help is on its way. And a little bit of work being done now to try and reach Fontinelli on the climb. But the Once boys are reorganising themselves now in the main field, deciding that this must not go on. If Jalabert is going to win it, they better start chasing down these Italian breakaways. There's the lone figure of Fontinelli. Just seeing if anybody is coming up, and preferably just one or two. Well, they're reaching him, but the main field is now limiting the gains completely. There's a big reaction there. And the rider is called Luca Gelfi. And Luca Gelfi knows all about success in this race. He was a big surprise when he finished second at Fondrest in 1993. And Chandri has come up too. And number 25 is Pascal Richard. Former world champion at cyclocross, Pascal Richard, but a lot more than that. He's an extremely good road rider, had a great season last year. Now further down the line, Stephen Rooks has just gone through there in his national championship jersey. This is Pascal Richard trying to dig deep. But the field, you see, being led by Once. Up over the top of the Cipressa, and now it's the descent. So the breakaway is not going to make it. There was a good reaction there, but it was noted that it came from Once. He's a classic rider, but he's never had any success in this event. And judging by the reaction here, that's still Luca Gelfi coming up. He's bringing the what looks to me like the stomping style there of Alex Zula. So Zula and Gelfi joining Pascal Richard. Now this could be a very good move indeed. That's where we are. 273 kilometres done. And just the Poggio climb remaining. And there is Laurent Jalabert, gone straight through them all. What a fine piece of riding by Jalabert. Vladislav Bobrik is also bringing the race up now. So this looks like it's going to be another little showdown session on Milan-San Remo with 21 kilometres to go. A lot of action has suddenly developed at the front of the race. So Berzin is gone up. There is Bobrik, number 3. Jalabert, and I think they've got the race back under control, and the strong men again are tapping out the rhythm. And Bunyo's team, and it looks as though it's still Richard out in front. Had a great season last year with 14 wins, including the tours in his own country of Romandy and Switzerland. And here in Italy, picked up a stage in the Tour of Italy and won the King of the Mountains. But now Jalabert is trying to reach him. He's taken a flyer off the front there, Jalabert. There's Indurain. Now there's an interesting sign, Indurain. But the fact it's Moto 3 is not good news for Miguel, because this means we are a little bit way down the peloton. And Miguel Indurain, I think, is using this race for training today. Looks a little bit heavy. Bert Zeeberg, who's the first man to reach Pascal Richard. This is Zeeberg coming up now. Well, I think this will be a real big help to Richard if somebody like Zeeberg gets up here. He's already had one win this season in the Tour of Mallorca. It was the 5th stage for Zeeberg, so early success. And now he's got a chance, a real chance of picking up Milan-San Remo. So 2 Swiss riders together, but they're on rival teams, of course. The Carrera man, Bert Zeeberg, and Pascal Richard. The scramble now as the race heads off towards the Poggio. And spring not quite here in San Remo yet, or in the region of San Remo. We're not far away, in fact, from San Remo itself. And it looks as though Zeeberg may have made a good read of the move here. Pascal Richard's another man that can sense moves when they're ready. He knows he has a good team behind, blocking for him. A Baldato Bugno, a Rebellin, Max Chandri and Sorensen. And so the pendulum has swung again to the Once boys to do all of the chasing down. And the man setting the pace is Alex Zula. So it looks as though the Once team have now just about expended all of their domestiques, because I think only Zula and Jalabert are left at the front. Well, I don't think that was quite the plan. I think they've gone a little bit early. This is at the rear of the peloton as riders try to pick their way through. I think somewhere in this little bunch here is still Big Mig himself. Mario Chiesa on the left there for Carrera. And Calcaterra's number 97. These riders behind now by some way. Gilbert Duclos Lazales here. But this is now back with the 2 leaders. Richard, a very good descender, as all cyclocross riders are. They've got great bike handling skills, and he's taking down Bert Zeeberg. Diving down back to the coast again through the twisties. But the escape is doomed because the chase behind is emphatic. Coming away now from the Cipressa. And the Italians indeed now trying to get back on terms. This is Fontinelli again trying to create a chase. But the gap is now about 5 seconds and no more. They're not going to make it, and we're now going to be treated to a mass charge heading up towards the Poggio. That's a narrow approach, and the strong men will be at the front, and then we'll see what happens. There's been plenty of moves in these last few kilometres, but they haven't worked, and it's largely been due to the reaction of Once. A little bit of wide cornering down there as well by Fontinelli. There's the scene awaiting the riders when they get through to the finish. And it's not too far away now either. Fontinelli has got the head. Richard trying to get on terms, and Jalabert. They're flying down this climb. Through the apexes of the corners, Fontinelli squeezing everything he can out of this spike at the moment. Fast and slick cornering. Roads in perfect condition today. Well, there's Pascal Richard trying to keep on terms. But the skill of Fontinelli on the descents. There's something like 80 riders in the main field at the moment of the original 193. The first winner, by the way, of Milan-San Remo was a Frenchman, Petit Breton. And the Italians didn't win their own race for the first 3 years. Well, they won it the third year. But they really are at the height of the sport right now, Italy. And they've certainly put in a lot of effort to contribute to the pace today. Fontinelli continues. Here he is, dodging through the camera bikes. He's riding like a man totally inspired here. He had a high finish last year, but he's going to have the #1 finish if he keeps this up. I'm sorry about the occasional colour changes, but there is a fault with the camera bike here, and there's nothing we can do about that. Gradual regrouping. There's Cipollini. He's got back up. Yes, this is quite a small group now. Baldato has made it too. And number 25 is Pascal Richard. And as we've come down the suppressor now, just a little bit of valley road before we climb that nasty little bump to the right, and that will take us over the Poggio and into the finish. Richard. Fontinelli's got company again, prepared to work, but he won't like the look of this. Now this is what happened back with our Moto 3 camera, and a number of riders fell on the descent here. And 2 of the riders are telecom riders, but we have no information on who they were, I'm afraid. But we thought you might like to see the crash picture. Claudio Chiappucci has got himself up to the front. Now, this is a very interesting move. We're still going off the gentle slopes into the valley here, and Chiappucci getting a little bit anxious now. Well, he had his big moment when he won this race in 1991, and richly deserved it. Very, very popular victory by Chiappucci that year. He won at an average speed of 42.3 miles an hour, which was one of the quickest in recent years. The outright record, by the way, is still held by Gianni Bugni. There's that crash again. The 2 telecom riders in all sorts of problems there. One of the telecom riders looked to me as though it was Brian Home, and I think Stefan Weisserman. And a TVM rider in the wreckage down there. Now back up with the leaders. Claudio Chiappucci. I was telling you that Gianni Bugni holds the outright record for this race in 1990 when he won on his own. A tremendous piece of riding. He rode for Chateau Dax at the time. 45.806 kilometres an hour. Unbelievable. And this is the longest, don't forget, of all of the classic races at 294 kilometres. Because it always seems to be in favourable conditions with helpful winds, the riders just fly over the distance. There's an attack on again now as Luco Gelfi looks around to see what's going on. Off goes a good move. 17 kilometres to go through to the finish. There's Gelfi once more, trying to keep the pace high, but a lot of shadow boxing starting now. Riders conserving their lead. I've just caught a glimpse too of Johan Museo, who's forced his way right up to the front for the Mapei team. He wears number 15 if you catch a glimpse of him. And And this is a classic race that Museo would like to win and put on his honours list because he's never done so yet. And this is Enrico Zaina on the right. And number 95 is Angelo Casonieri. So Zaina won a stage of Tirreno Adriatico, which they always say is a nice little pointer for this event. He won the 7th stage of the warm-up race. And that's Max Chandri over there, looking for somebody to come and give him a hand, and he's not long in getting it. Casonzieri. So it's still Zaina trying to keep the pressure on here at the front now. So once again, a different team. Carrera now pushing home the advantage. We've seen Claudio Chiappucci go, and now I see Zaina have a go as well. He's been joined by Canzonieri, who rides for Mercatoni Uno. And we've already caught a glimpse of Cipollini, who is still in this leading group, very much so. And so too is Berzin. That was a glimpse of Berzin. Sean Yates. And I think Lance Armstrong are the two Motorola riders left up here. But this is the heart of the main pack, and Berzin isn't riding like somebody really thinking of a victory here. He's looking like a man more content to roll towards the finish. And that looks like Mark Wouters of the Novell team. And it is indeed Mark Wouters, second-year professional. And he must be feeling pretty frisky as well this morning. Well, this afternoon now. It's been quite a few hours since this race went off from Milan. And this is Massimiliano Lelli. Another solid rider who's ridden with distinction in the Tour de France. And he's now gone up and joined Mark Wouters. These attacks serving all the time to keep this race right on the limit. But there really is some superb cycling being done now. 5 riders trying to break the clear. And the rider in the yellow jersey is Lelli. An attack again, this time coming from David Rebellin. The MG riders have done just about everything here. They've used all of their men. We've seen up front Bugno, Rebellin, Richard, Chandri, Salagari, Sorensen. The only two we haven't seen actually force the issue here are Baldato and Lietti. And they're both in this group as well. Number 94 up there is Lelli, still keeping the pace on. And number 104 is Sergei Uchikov, the Russian rider who rides on the Polti team. Momentarily into a tunnel. That's when the old eyes will start to strain to make sure that they don't touch wheels and fall down. The tunnels are usually cold and damp as well, and this one isn't too long. And they went in a big pack and come out in a thin line. A lot of gay wrist riders up there now. The pace being set by Lelli. Just behind Lelli, Manzoni. Mario Manzoni is the rider second in line. André Schmill is in evidence too now. This rider just pops up and waits. He never seems to have a team around him. The Lotto team are never there to help him. He's always on his own. Fonchiari and Lelli. Mercatoni Uno. They've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 riders up here now. So that'll be Lelli, Canziari, Foniciari, and I think Michele Bartoli. And that is Pascal Richard, who's gone yet again. He's done it once, he's found the strength to do it again. Richard taking an absolute flyer there, but he's quickly marked by Mercatoni Uno and the Gavis team. The rider third in line there is Volpi, this little man who does so much work for his squad, but this is Richard. And the rider right behind him is Fonciari. Paolo Fonciari. The long legs. And our camera giving us a little bit of a tricks again here, looking as though everybody's got the same colours on. Sorry about that. Now Forniciari setting the pace. And another rider moving up on the inside. Volpi having none of it. Volpi happy to keep the pace high and keep everybody in place. Fabrizio Bontempi. And not Guido this time has got to the front. Well, all of the Italian teams are now completely ruling the front of this race. They've washed away the Once team. And you can see the size of the actual bunch there now. It's down to about 45 riders. So the Cipressa really hurt a lot of people. And I think it wiped out virtually all of the Once team. I haven't even seen Jalabert or Zula for a while. I can see Jalabert down there. And I think Zula's there as well. Just off to the left of our picture. Canzonieri, number 95. Volpi, number 6. And the pace is going to stay very, very hot now all the way to Poggio. But it's been so hot, I'm not sure how many riders are going to have the legs to even accelerate on the Poggio now. I'm not sure they can go any faster. Volpi was leading, quickly pushed over by Bobrick. And Bobrick now taking a run. And this is a good start by Bobrick. He's got the front. And just look at the speed of Bobrick. The confidence born of winning the Tour of Lombardy last year. His teammate Zanini, Stefano Zanini's number 4. And Canzonieri is here as well. But look at this now. Vyacheslav Bobrick is the rider setting the pace. And the rider there just behind him, I think, is Dmitry Konishev, who's come up right behind him. So we've got Bobrick at the front, followed by Konishev. Then we've got Zanini. There's Konishev, choosing not to wear his crash helmet today, so we have a better shot at recognising him. The third rider is Zanini. Canzonieri, and number 51 is Fondriest, and there's Jalabert come up as well. And I think the little rider behind is probably Yekimov. Now this is the climb of the Poggio. You can see the crowd above the race. They are absolutely flying on this climb, and Bobrick is like Superman. He is just stomping on those pedals. He's still got his big chainring in action, and he is roaring up this climb. Konishev happy to follow right now. Zanini staying in third wheel, waiting to see what develops, I suspect. The top of the climb now, these little twists ruin the rhythm completely. You've got to dig deep and get the rhythm going very quickly. And there is Bobrick, and Zanini has got second wheel now. Zanini's come up behind his teammate. Just look at the acceleration of Vladislav Bobrick. What a long way this man has come since he rode the Tour de Trump. And I think Furlan is up here as well, last year's winner. It's do or die on the Poggio today, and it's a beautiful day. The two Gavis boys, followed by Fondriest. Jalabert is right up there too. It may be by fortune, it may be by practice, but he's found the wheel of Fondriest. And that surely must be good news. They're coming round that hairpin uphill so fast they're almost going off the corner. So the two Gavis riders, led by Bobrick. What a superb piece of climbing it has been by him today. Winner of the Tour of Lombardy last year when he came up to Pascal Richard and snatched it off him. Virtual sprint here now on the climb. Bobrick, Zanini, Konishev. You can hear the shouts for the Italians. Jens Heppner having a good ride for Germany, but I think he's more content to stay in the group than push it. Zanini checking as to who has come forward. He'll be a little bit disappointed to see the face of Fondriest. 5 kilometres to go. There's Sean Yates, couldn't quite make the first group today. And these liders, they must have wondered what happened at the front there. Their legs completely ripped off. And now look at this, Fondriest is going. The Poggio, and Fondriest has gone, and right on him straight away is Laurent Jalabert. The acceleration by Fondriest. He's holding the gear, he sits down, then he gets out the saddle again. He's going to hold this sprint as long as he can and then hope. And Jalabert is working very, very hard. He's got all the confidence of a winner this year, and Jalabert trying to grab the wheel of Maurizio Fondriest. Italy versus France. Well, Fondriest was perfectly poised for that attack. He waited for Bobrick just to show a hint of tiring, and he's not allowed the pace to drop one little bit. He's gone. And in fact, Laurent Jalabert has hooked up nicely. Well, surely if Jalabert can hold his place going down off the Poggio here, he's got the superior sprint to Fondriest. Fondriest at the moment hasn't looked round to see who it is on his wheel. He must know there is somebody there. There are two other riders trying to chase here. And one of the Mercatoni riders there, but Konichev is still there. Konichev, who had the best place, followed all the wheels, and then could not go with Fondriest. So Dmitry Konichev is going to have to settle for the chasing group there. And it wouldn't surprise me if the other rider was Fabio Fontanelli, because it looked like it was an AKI rider. Now, the Poggio again has played his part. Now Fondriest looks over his shoulder to see what the acceleration has done. The answer is it's blown the Milan-San Remo field apart, except for this rider behind him, Laurent Jalabert. Running away now off the Poggio, the long twisting descent. When Argentin thought he won it and Sean Kelly caught him on this sort of a descent, you are never sure of victory till you get down the bottom. And there's the chase developing. Now Konichev is in that group, Fabiano Fontanelli. But we've no other information. It looked to me as though Michele Bartoli was also coming across there. He would be the rider from the ZG team. And these two are going down side by side. Jalabert just taking the outside corner. I think this was the corner coming up when Alain Bondu fell off and lost Milan-San Remo. Marc Gomez carried on to win. Anyway, these two are around safely, and there's the gap. It's nothing at all for this descent. And the breakaway is indeed Fontanelli, Konichev. David Rebellin is the other rider from Malefico MG Technogym. The gap is probably growing a little bit, I think. Fondriest is trying to lose, and Fondriest sort of indicating to our cameraman to keep back while he sees his line round the corners. He's not panicking at all here, Jalabert. He knows the bends. So Jalabert just watching his line. And Fondriest is totally committed here. His only chance he may feel is to rid himself of Jalabert on this tricky descent, because he won't beat him in the sprint. And I think he knows it. So Laurent Jalabert is going to feel he's got his first classic victory here if all goes well. There's just a couple of kilometres down to sea level in San Remo. You can see how the chase behind is taking shape. The riders are completely split up at the moment. Zanini is a rider in that chase group. 8 seconds of the gap. It is Rebellin, Bartoli, Zanini, Fontanelli. So they've got rid of Konichev. And all the way down this climb, Maurizio Fondriest has set the pace. He set it up the Poggio, and with virtually no help from the Frenchman, he set it all the way down as well. The thing is that you can do things better on your own on a descent like this and forget who's with you. The last Frenchman to win, on back-to-back wins they were for Laurent. But the French are now beginning to believe they've found themselves a new superstar here in Laurent Jalabert. Neither is a surprise winner, be it Jalabert or Fondriest. 3 kilometres to go. Jalabert comes to the front and does a little bit of work now. But not enough for Fondriest, who wants to push on. We're looking at about 6 seconds gap back to Bartoli, Rebellin, Zanini and Fontanelli. And it was about here where Sean Kelly bridged the gap to Argentin and then refused to do any more work, and you couldn't blame him for that. And Fondriest has managed to get Jalabert in front. Now, will he leave him there for the sprint? Jalabert doesn't want to be there now. He wants to keep Fondriest where he can see him. He's flicked his arm, and Fondriest is taking his chance and going through. I'm not sure that's a good move by Maurizio Fondriest here. The gap is enough. You've got just about enough time to play cat and mouse before the line. And the all-new mauve strip of Maurizio Fondriest. A little fault on our camera has not been cured. These two are still working well together. Two professionals doing the honourable thing. Now Laurent Jalabert, former green jersey winner in the Tour de France, now hoping his sprint hasn't left him after 294 kilometres. He looks good, doesn't he? My goodness me, he looks good. Fondriest always been under pressure. There's the two leaders, and we're not going to quite have the pleasure of seeing the four chasers, but they are 5 seconds behind, and that's all. Well, they can't afford actually to freewheel because the chasers are coming back. It's 6 seconds officially. Jalabert is taking the lead. Fondriest round behind him. That's the place to be right now. A couple of twists and turns and then line up for the finish. And I think as soon as Jalabert gets around this corner, he's going to look at Fondriest and try and bring him up in front, because they're lining up for the finish here, and there he does it. And Fondriest checking over his shoulder. He will probably see the chasers coming round the corner as well. No hesitation to go through. Well, Jalabert has manoeuvred the great Italian into first place, exactly where he wants him. There's the chase behind, and it's right there. The Gavis rider, Stefano Zanini, who's going to lead out that sprint. But now Laurent Jalabert is not going to come by Fondriest, and Fondriest is going to have to start the sprint and lead out one of the quickest finishes in the world. And Jalabert has gone, and he's gone quickly. I don't think Fondriest has any answer. He's lost a length now. Jalabert is going to keep it going. The sprint is on behind, it out by Zanini. It won't be good enough. Laurent Jalabert gets his classic win, and I think the two-arm salute by Fondriest is one of desperation. Zanini, who led out, got the sprint from David Rebellin and Michele Bartoli. And there is Konishev coming in. He's just holding off the bunch. In fact, that's Chiappucci off our camera to the left. There he is, Claudio Chiappucci and Jesper Skibby bringing home the main field there. Well, what a marvellous result for Laurent Jalabert. And as I say, the French now are really going to feel that they have a real all-round rider and not just a sprinter. They'll be a little bit unhappy he rides for a Spanish team, but the seasons ahead, who knows, might alter that. These last 30 or 40 kilometres today has torn this field to shreds. It's been a tremendous race today. And a Novell rider coming in there. Looked to me as though it was Edwig van Hooijdonk in the pack. And it was all too easy for Laurent Jalabert. Once he got the front, he didn't win by inches, he won by a length. Laurent Jalabert at last has won a classic, and it comes 8 months after this horrendous crash at the end of the opening stage of the Tour de France. The whole field stringing out, Nelson leading through, the champion looking for an early win here. Oh my goodness me, they've hit the policemen, they've all come down. That is a terrible crash. Gonchenkov has gone down, Fontanelli's gone down. That is an amazing pile-up. Laurent Jalabert has gone down. Now watch this again here, and watch the rider in black. You can see the policeman looking straight at the race, and then into them goes Jalabert. Hits those cans really very, very hard indeed. I've never seen anything like it. This is Wilfred Nellison on the floor, and with him is Laurent Jalabert. And one thing about Milan-San Remo, you can never criticise him for the size of the winner's trophy. He also, of course, takes the first lead after round one with 50 points in the bag in the World Cup. So, Laurent Jalabert, fourth in Milan-San Remo in 1993. I make this his 52nd victory since he turned pro back in 1989, but the first classic is his. Jalabert winning today ahead of Maurizio Fondriest, an average speed of 43.5 kilometres an hour, ahead of Zanini, Rebellin, Bartoli, Fontanelli. They chased him down the mountain, they couldn't catch him. I hope you've enjoyed this edition, the 86th of Milan-San Remo, and I'm sure we'll meet again. Goodbye for now.